Unit 3 politics, everyone's favorite topic, the media. We're going to teach this with a little different. We're going to simultaneously teach it for the normies, keep it basic, as the kids say, but then we'll also go after the based, the red-pilled, be a little controversial, and criticize the media. Now, for all students, an easy way to comprehend this lesson is to break it into 4 parts. Who's the media? What does the media do? What specific ways does the media do that? And how does the media influence public policy? So the word media comes from medium, as in between. So how do you get information from point A to point B? One way to get information to help citizens and voters from point A to point B, you the viewer, is television news, broadcast news, legacy media, corporate media, mainstream media. Television news is a medium, also known as the media, the way that the information is transmitted. Another way information can be transmitted into your brain, radio. This is all legacy media, some of the older versions, newspapers. What's a newspaper, the student says? That's exactly right. But once upon a time, this was a powerful part of the media. This was how the American public was able to get information about how to vote and know about issues in America. Internet websites. Even this source of media has died quite a bit and is not as powerful as it was 10, 15 years ago. What is the media or medium that really matters now? It's social media. They're the captains now. It was already changing, but in 2024, there was a seismic shift. A major turning point in American history in 2024. There is no going back. X, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, those are the mediums for transmitting information. Those are the media. That's where citizens get their information. Social media, legacy media, TV, news, newspapers, radio, are dead or dying or not very influential. You want to know about political campaigns and where your elected officials stand, you go to social media to listen to independent journalists that aren't owned by corporate interests. On social media, you can find honest analysis on public policy, the government's plans, breakdowns of government plans that are not influenced or biased by corporate interests, big money interests, big companies, or even ideologically slanted. Now, you can also get some biased hot takes on social media as well, but those become very clear and for the most part are very honest about their biases. Whereas legacy media at times, Fox, MSNBC, the New York Times, the old traditional formats, the old mediums of information exchange are not quite as honest and believe that they are down the middle, whereas there's often bias. So the media, what do they do? TV, radio, newspaper, website, social media. What do? Simple. They keep the citizens informed. You got a job to do, you got a family to raise, you got a community to support, you got a lot of stuff going on. You don't have a lot of time to constantly check the internet and follow what's going on in politics, although you probably do. But they try to make sure that you get the information that you need to be a better citizen so that we have a better country. That's the idealistic approach. So what do? What are some specific ways that they do it? Well, they got to keep the citizens informed. Why is that important? Because you're a voter. You're going to choose the leaders in our representative democracy for our republic. And we want you to select the best leaders. We want you to make the best choices possible. So the best way is to let you know where everyone stands. Who's running? Now, this is an old PowerPoint. That's how we keep this thing basic, by running a 2012 PowerPoint with some updates for the based. But the basic normies, that's Mitt Romney. He ran in 2012. The media let you know he was running. They identify the candidates, let you know who's voting to vote for on TV. So you watch TV, you find out all the different candidates, you make your choices. They also emphasize specific issues. What's going on in the nation? What do you need to know about? What do you need to be concerned about? How can that influence your vote? How can that influence you to speak to your politicians? How can that help you make change, etc.? So if you want to find out what's going on the border, you can't go to the border. If there's an oil disaster in the Gulf Coast, again, 2012 PowerPoint here, you ain't there. How would you ever know about a oil rig disaster? How would you know about the issues on the border if it wasn't for the media or social media keeping us informed? You can write editorials, or they will write editorials. This is where the media actually says, hey, we're going to be a little biased. We're going to give you your opinion. All the other pages in our newspaper, all the other segments in our TV shows are right down the middle, and we're just giving you the facts. Well, once upon a time, when this PowerPoint was created, there was, from the legacy and traditional media, a pretty unbiased media that, for the most part, the majority of your TV program, the majority of the newspaper pages were down the center. Just give us the facts. Just give me the information. And then one page, just one page or one segment of a TV show was allocated towards opinion from the experts working at the newspaper. This is where the newspaper person or the TV news person steps away from the facts and gives their own personal opinion in an editorial about the direction of the nation. Now, unfortunately, almost all of the newspaper is editorial, and all of the TV news program is editorial and very less facts. Maybe that's why no one watches legacy media or reads newspapers anymore. How else specifically can they keep citizens informed? Political cartoons. This used to be a great way of informing citizens, especially citizens who don't read so good. We don't see so much of this anymore because newspapers have pretty much died, but they're still out there. You can Google up a lot, and they have been very influential throughout the history of America. Not so significant anymore because of the death of newspapers as a medium of the exchange of information, but when newspapers were king, political cartoons were very powerful, especially at the turn of the century, the early 1900s, late 1800s, in influencing and educating citizens. Cartoons? Hey, they can always come back. I mean, there are plenty of YouTube cartoons now. There are GIFs, there are memes. Probably, if I were to update this PowerPoint today, again, and then make it more based, red-pilled, what has replaced the political cartoon is the meme, is the GIF. They are very powerful and can communicate information. The TikTok. Yeah, that's a good idea. Think in the future, if you step away from the state standards and get pretty controversial and want to teach about media and social media and informing the public, then there needs to be a very deep discussion on TikTok and how those videos, humorous ones, can influence voters. How memes can transfer information. Memes are a medium. They are the media. Publish op-ed pieces. This, very similar to editorials, as I mentioned before, where the media steps away from the facts and gives their opinion. This is where you, the average citizen, could use the media to publish your opinion. They offer you the opportunity to step in and say what you believe about politics, about your community. The regular person can jump in there and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Unfortunately, newspapers dead, so there's not really there. And hey, what's the point? Because social media basically is now a giant op-ed. Everyone can participate. Media is no longer a one-way street where the media tells you what you need to know, or the media tells you what to believe, often what they want you to believe. Now it's a two-way street. It's a back and forth. It's a tennis match. It's a volley. They can say what they want, and you can fire right back in the comments. And anyone can participate now on social media. So we are living in a giant op-ed, an opinion editorial. We can all give our editorial opinion. We can all chime in. We can all influence public policy. We can all inform citizens. Podcast different points of view. Once upon a time, in a more halcyon age, or peaceful, loving, honest, maybe naive era of America, our media, the medium of exchange, transmitted information to the brains for both sides. We got points and counterpoints. We got both sides of the aisle. We didn't get one side biased, all liberal all the time, or all conservative all the time. Now, probably not so much the case. Now it seems that we get, in legacy media, or media supported by corporations to make profit through advertising. We would call this the corporate media. Not really the mainstream media anymore because it's not mainstream, but you'll hear that. MSNBC, Fox News, they are not broadcasting different points of view. They're giving you one point of view. And that is why we have seen the rise in fake news. Now, this can be an exaggeration. This can be taken very many ways. But what we're really talking about is not that the stories are necessarily untrue or that they're completely made up or that it's gossip. When we talk about fake news, we're just saying that the news ain't what the news used to be. The news isn't showing both points of view. The news, the media, the traditional legacy media isn't presenting simply facts. They are giving opinion in a biased way and pretending to be right down the middle and showing both sides. That is what we are discussing when we talk about fake news. They are no longer broadcasting both points of view for the most part, and anyone with a pair of glasses on can see that. So we're not saying that these are fake stories about Bigfoot. What we're saying is the news is being fake. The newspaper man is being fake. The journalists are being fake. They are not being honest. The broadcasters are acting fake. That is what we are discussing when we say fake news. The MSNBC coverage of Harris's campaign was glowingly supportive. Hardly ever said a bad thing. How could that be? As much as one could love Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the Democratic Party, you're going to tell me that they've never made a mistake? You're going to tell me they didn't get anything wrong? You're going to tell me that one of their platform issues is not really going to work? Yes, that's exactly what we are going to tell you. That, folks, is fake. They're being fake. Fake people. And it's on both sides. We get it from Fox, who covered mainly a biased way of Trump. He's never made a mistake. He's never done anything wrong. Some of his policies won't work. Oh, they're all going to be great. You guys are being fake. You guys are not being honest. You guys are not playing it down the center. And you're not being honest with us, and you're not being honest with yourself. And because of this fake acting, people have stopped watching legacy media. They've stopped reading newspapers, and they have turned to social media. Independent journalists that are more honest and less fake. Now, these journalists, be it Tim Cast or Breaking Points or even the more extreme version of Alex Jones and InfoWars, they also have biases, but they are much more transparent and honest about their biases. When they lean one way or the other, they let you know they lean one way or the other. They do not pretend to be independent and down the center always. And people appreciate that honesty. And with the large supply of different independent journalists and broadcasters and news information disseminators on social media, you can choose from very many and select the best way to aggregate information about what's going on in terms of public policy and political campaigns. And thus we are seeing this huge rise in social media and the death of legacy media. All right, back for the normies and the basics. Political campaigns. You see all these ads on TV. You see all this information coming from various sources straight from the campaign. This information is not necessarily coming from the media. It's coming from the Republican Party. It's coming from the Democrats. It's coming from the candidate trying to run for office buying the ads. The media can help us with this information that's directly coming to you from the politicians. They can help us understand the facts and whether something is true or not true. Well, in 2012, when I first created this PowerPoint, that was probably the case. And you could go to a newspaper, turn on the TV to find out, well, is that really the case? I saw this political ad that claimed this guy did this or that guy did that. News, help me out, help me understand it. Well, now today, you're more than likely going to go to social media or X or Twitter to find out what really is the truth. Either way, this is a form of media that is helping us understand truth and fact. So media helps us understand campaigns. We've got a lot of political campaigns going on, and the media, mainly social media, now I'd say mainly X, will help us with the first one, which is separating fact from fiction. What's true, what's not true. Yes, once upon a time, you could go to traditional legacy media to understand this, but now probably X. Detect bias. What's going on? Is someone leaning one way or the other? Here we got a Virginia Tech Hokies fan. Why do I have that on there? Well, if you ask this guy, hey, who's the best team in football? What's the best college football team? It's the Hokies, Virginia Tech. Obviously, I was teaching in Virginia at the time. What do you think about the Virginia Cavaliers? They're terrible. What do you think about VCU? They're terrible. Hey, you like Duke? Get out of here. That person's biased. And social media can help us understand if information coming to us is coming from someone who is biased, so they're not necessarily telling us the whole truth. Biased. Biased or based. That guy looks pretty based, to be honest. Love it. Hokies, not so good anymore these days. Used to be a powerhouse once upon a time. Evaluate the sources. All right, well, where actually is this coming from? So the media can check the sources and say, where did you get that information? And social media is very good about this. Where did you find that? And linking you to the original source and finding you what's really going on. And media can also help us identify propaganda. Propaganda is a tool used by governments to influence the public. Propaganda is where the government often, and others, mislead people for their own personal gains. And you can see historical examples of propaganda posters in which the US government didn't quite tell the whole truth, but got the American public to do what it wanted to do through clever ways of exaggeration. It's propaganda, it's information used for a gain, it's often misleading, exaggerations, very much racist, if you can see in the past. Propaganda existed then, propaganda exists today. World War II is filled with propaganda from the government. The COVID era was, all right, we just got demonetized. It wasn't monetized anyway. We might get this video blocked. Anyway, the COVID era was definitely filled with government propaganda. And the media was supposed to help us understand the propaganda coming from the government that was trying to direct the public. Instead, the media, traditional and legacy media, and one of the reasons why they are failing and no one is watching, is that the American public understood that the government was sending out propaganda during the COVID era. And the traditional legacy media on television and newspapers was not identifying that propaganda. They were transmitting that propaganda. They were allowing the government to use the media as a medium to push propaganda, to push Americans to believe in certain policies, to accept certain policies, to obey the government. The media is supposed to be the watchdog that prevents this. They let most of America down, and they have yet to admit to their failures for the most part. And that is why most Americans have abandoned and stopped watching. Ratings are plummeting. TV news stations are selling, firing everyone. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. No one is watching because the American public, at least the majority, feels betrayed by the media for not doing this specific job. So, old school example for the normies. Let's say you live in District 5. You got to vote for a representative in 2012. You're going to vote for the Republican or the Democrat. You vote, you elect someone to go to office, the House of Representatives. One of the best ways to make some of these decisions about who's running, where are they campaigning at, what are the rules, what are the situation, it was the news media. They help you understand about who is running for office, all the things from propaganda to biases to facts and fiction. But now you can pretty much just go to social media to find out, hey, who's running in your district? What do they stand for? What do they believe? Where's their policy connections? Either way, you use the media to find about who to vote for. All right, public policy. That is the plan for the government. What is the policy or plan for the public or the nation? Now, the media can help us understand what the current government or current administration's plan for America is. They tell you. Now, for the most part now, today, the media is kind of irrelevant because the president, through X and social media, can directly speak to you. They no longer have to go through legacy media. They no longer have to go through the TV news or the newspapers to get the information about the plan to you. They can go direct to the public. But once upon a time, for the normies and for the state standards, the media will focus on specific issues, let you know what's going on. the BP oil spill, and what the policy will be about the environment, how to deal with that, what's the government's plan for dealing with the oil spill, the news media would let us know. Well, now today, the government can directly talk to you on X. So kind of outdated, but we still need to know these basic standards. That once upon a time, though, if you want to stay in American history, if you wanted to know what the policy was, you had to read the newspapers because you couldn't directly talk to politicians, and politicians couldn't talk directly to you. But through technology, all of that has changed. But through American history, TV news, newspapers, pamphlets, that was the way that you found out about select issues. Forums and TV debates still exist on the main platforms of television. How long that will be, no idea. But even in 2024, we still had televised debates that got pretty good numbers. The media offers the platform to these politicians to discuss issues so that the public can understand them. And then hold government accountable when they are wrong. These days seems to be, well, once upon a time, again, during a more golden age of America, the media would crack down on both sides and be a watchdog and fight for the American public. Now, today, they still do some crackdowns. They still do some watchdogging and hold people accountable. Unfortunately, what we have run into is MSNBC holds the Republicans accountable and ignores the ills of the Democratic Party, and Fox News holds the Democrats accountable while giving a free pass to the Republicans. If we really want to use media to hold government accountable, well, the best place to go for that, where the whip is cracked, that's X. Social media, it's Facebook, Meta, YouTube. So there is still a media out there that is holding government accountable and letting us know when they're making mistakes. But it's not legacy media, it's not corporate media, it's not traditional media, it is social media. And we can use that tool to put politicians in their place because this is a nation of we, the people, of the people, for the people, by the people. You need to do what the people want. And when you step out of line, we're going to get you out of line. Or when you're out of whatever. We're going to vote you out. We're going to pick someone else. We're going to impeach you. And social media can help us understand it. That is it. Hope you enjoyed media.